Hello everyone, it's Tony here. I've been in lockdown for 6 weeks now, and each week I've been trying to give practical suggestions of how we might flourish during this lockdown. And this is my 6th version. The thoughts I'm sharing now were initially shared in briefer form as part of my sermon last Sunday. You can find that if you're interested on hopechurch.co.uk. There I preached on Ephesians chapter 4, where Paul talks to the church about speaking the truth in love, and that's how we reach maturity. And the thoughts that I developed, the thoughts that I've been thinking about and pondering is, who do we speak the truth to? And the conclusion that I came to was the most important person we can speak the truth in love to is ourselves. And I've been finding that really important, essential during this lockdown. I find myself at times being a person I don't want to be. You may find it hard to believe, but sometimes I'm irritable. And do you know what's even worse? The person I'm irritable with is my wife. Now, I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that Paul talks about, who loves his wife as Christ loves the church. And so I find myself having to speak to myself saying, Tony, do you want to be that person? Do you really want to be an irritable git? I have to give myself a good talking to. Similarly, at times I find myself overwhelmed by concerns and worries. And again, I have to speak to myself. I say, Tony, focus on today, focus on eternity, but don't worry about tomorrow. And I speak to myself the truth that Jesus talked about. He says, focus on today because today has enough worries of its own. I speak to myself and say, look at the lilies of the field, look at the flowers, how God looks after them. Is he going to look after you? Hasn't he looked after you for the last 60 years? Is he going to let you down tomorrow? I speak to myself truth, but I don't do it harshly. I do it in love. I love myself because God loves me. A famous preacher from a previous generation, Martin Lloyd-Jones, says something similar. He was writing a commentary on Psalm 42, and he says the following. Have you realised that most of your unhappiness in life is due to the fact that you're listening to yourself instead of talking to yourself? Take those thoughts that come to you the moment you wake up in the morning. You've not originated them, but they're talking to you. Yourself is talking to you. The psalmist, instead of allowing this self to talk to him, he starts talking to himself. Why are you cast down, O my soul? He asks. This soul had been depressing him, crushing him. So he stands up and says, Self, listen for a moment. I will speak to you. Popular sports psychiatrist Steve Peters says something similar. He's written numbers of books on it. There's articles about it. He talks about a chimp that we carry around with us. The chimp representing our emotions and our feelings. He says we need to speak to our emotions and our feelings, to acknowledge them, but not to be controlled by them. Steve Peters effectively is saying we need to speak to ourselves truth in love. So at this time, I would suggest we need to follow the advice of Paul, Martin Lloyd-Jones, Steve Peters, even Tony Thompson. And let's speak the truth to ourselves in love. Let's not allow our feelings and emotions to take control. Let's speak to them truth. Let's not become people we don't want to be. Let's correct ourselves. Let's speak truth to ourselves in love.